Now, we have sensors in our brain that are affected by fluid levels, and they trigger your hypothalamus, which is in your brain, to signal thirst. Now, the interesting thing is that thirst sensation decreases with aging, or so it's seen to decrease with aging. I have a very dear friend who, she's in her 90s now, but when she was in her early 80s, she wasn't drinking hardly any water at all. She just didn't like water. And I was concerned for her because she loved a garden. She'd be out in the really hot summer days in the sun for a couple of hours at a time. And I was concerned she was going to have some heat stroke, especially if she was dehydrated. And she'd say, "Well, I'm just never thirsty." And I said, "Well, it might be that your thirst mechanism has sort of stopped working because it gave up. You're just not drinking water and it decided to stop telling you you're thirsty." So she loves me, so she agreed to start drinking water. And the next time I stopped by to visit, it was just a few days later, she practically yelled at me. She said, "What did you do to me? I am thirsty all the time now." And I said, "Oh, your thirst sensation is finally awake. It has come out of a long slumber." So it can happen. Sometimes it's just because we've ignored it for so long, it's not working that well. Now, your thirst mechanism is often not a valid indicator if you're an elite trained athlete. You don't want to wait until you're thirsty. You want to be sure that you're hydrating well when you're training heavily. And that thirst mechanism is often disguised by salivating. When you're eating, you get the salivary glands get going to start digesting your food. The digestion begins in the mouth. Actually begins when you look at food or smell food because your mouth will start to salivate. Well, the interesting part here is sometimes when you salivate, it'll disguise your thirst mechanism. And so you won't even really know you're thirsty and you'll think you're hungry and you'll start eating instead of drinking. And the thirst mechanism should not be relied on for determining a healthy fluid intake. It's not the way to work.